Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Claire Miller, author. I am a professional writer. I am the story creator and I have published 4 children's books. And today I would like to read to you the first of the 5 sections of a story that I wrote over Christmas. I had such a great time and would love to have some feedback on what I actually wrote. The story is called The Moment of Truth, and the 2 principal characters are Jenny and Tom. This is a description of the story. Jenny reads a message which sends her into space, needing to be alone. Tom rescues her when her spacesuit starts to lose oxygen. Darkness stops her attempts to get away from him. Back on Earth, she needs to decide if she wants to live. Can she ever trust Tom or herself ever again? What will she decide in her moment of truth? I hope you enjoy this. You never loved me. I know that now. I was a fool to believe you did. The gentle hissing sound faded into the background as she remembered the first time she'd met Tom at the Space Centre. He'd been part of that year's intake of potential astronauts, every one of them hoping to be given the opportunity to go into space, to get to the space station, to travel further into the galaxy, to explore the unknown. What had attracted her to him was his unassuming manner and ability to put others before himself. In her classes, he was always helping the other students before getting with his own work. She admired his ability to put others at ease and make them feel confident in their abilities. There was no hesitation when she was asked by the flight director to recommend students who would be suitable for the next space mission. His name was top of her list. His performance in her class, Survival Techniques in Space, had been outstanding. It was during this space mission she began to develop feelings for him. They were scheduled to work together on a daily basis, and she began to look forward to their time together, more than just achieving a good result for the space program. What had impressed her the most was he never took advantage of her obvious feelings towards him. She remembered the first time he'd called her by her first name. His voice had come into her helmet, alerting her to a malfunction in her spacesuit. His quick thinking had saved her life. Jenny, can you hear me? Please respond. There he was again. Only this time he was in her memories. The hissing sound followed her as she turned her head to look away from the stars back to the space station. She was floating a short distance away from the airlock she'd just exited. Her hand was around the tether connecting her to the space station. She'd volunteered to take a look at the outside as a panel was suspected to be loose. She'd just learnt something that had shattered her dreams and needed to be alone. Outside the space station was the only place in space she could truly be alone. Jenny, please respond. This was the station commander. She paused her thoughts. This could be a real voice, although normally the commander addressed her by her mission title, Survival Specialist. She turned to look at the stars, trying to make sense of what was happening. Jenny, listen to me, please. Jenny turned off her communicator. It was him, the liar. Yet again, he was trying to interrupt her thinking. Peace descended, the constant hissing lulling her brain into an appreciation of the utter beauty of space. The black sky filled with bright lights of stars, all unknown destinations to explore. The first mission had gone so well. By the time they were back on Earth, she and he were together. She'd been so happy and amazed when he'd insisted that they take their time to get to know each other properly. He was a real gentleman. Other men had tried to become more than friends, but he was the only one who'd really let her take her time to get to know him. This only made her love him more. Now, on their fourth mission together, they were preparing to be part of a crew destined to leave the space station to travel further into space. The thought of going onwards into the galaxy had really excited her until she'd read the message. Her onward journey turning from an exciting adventure into a nightmare. The message had come from Earth and had been delivered to her as she was on duty at the time. It had been addressed to him, but she'd been ordered to read the messages by the station commander. The onward journey was due to leave very soon, and the commander needed all the information to be as up to date as possible. The solar flare activity was creating delays in transmitting and receiving the messages. Everyone on the space station knew this and agreed to this. What was he thinking? She had no idea. But she was glad she'd learned the truth before the mission had left the station. Now she was going back to Earth. He could travel into space alone. The reply to his request from Earth had been in 4 months and signed from Carol. It could only mean one thing. He'd been cheating on her all along. She'd wondered why he kept disappearing from the space center after a phone call from someone called Carol. She did try and talk to him about this, but the timetable for this mission had been accelerated, leaving no time for her to talk to him. The station commander had kept them busy ever since they'd arrived at the space station. The deadline for the onward journey had been moved forward too. Everyone was in a hurry. She hadn't bothered to read any more of his message and had gone straight to the spacesuits and come into space, leaving her name against the job checking the panel. Static buzzed over her communicator, mixing with the hiss. She knew this was the emergency method of turning her suit communicator back on. She couldn't let it happen. She wasn't ready to talk to him. A tear ran down her face. She blinked to stop more falling and thought of the beautiful ring sitting in the small black box in her cabin. They'd both agreed to wait until the final operation meeting of the onward journey to ask the commander to marry them. Her answer to Tom's question had been yes. His sincere words and honest emotions had convinced her that he loved her, and only her. How dare he treat her like a fool? More static caught her attention. Her communicator burst into life. The hissing became louder. Someone is on their way to you, Jenny, the commander said. You'll be safe soon. Her tether slipped out of her hand. She turned to see Tom's concerned face staring at her from inside another spacesuit helmet. Her fingers reached to detach the tether from her suit. She had to get away from him. Darkness crowded her vision. I hope you really enjoyed listening to that. If you'd like to know more about my books that I actually have, my website is www.clairemillerauthor.co.uk. Thank you very much for listening and watching this video.